seeing you in drag myself, and like I could never do something like that. How do you find the confidence and just the freedom to be able to express yourself in a very conservative place as well? Like India is very conservative in its thinking.
It's extremely conservative. Until today, I face a lot of like, um, people call me and say, "Why did you upload this?" Like my friends' parents have called and said that I'm telling you this as like your own mother, but why are you doing this? And I'm just like, it's just a form of expression. I don't know why people take things so seriously. It's just having some fun, but it does take a lot of courage, and I'm going to give myself credit for that, because especially where I am, you are shamed left, right, and center, and there's not really sort of any acceptance of individuality, or any distinction from the normal is considered abnormal. So to do
Mm.
drag in an environment like this is intense, but it's, I think it all starts with one step, and then you just sort of build onto it and you explore. Like acting school really made me comfortable in my own skin, and these female characters that I do actually started with an Instagram filter where I didn't have to do anything. I just held my phone in
Yeah,
front of
yeah,
me, and it converted me into a girl, which is so easy. You can do it. But
yeah.
then taking that a step further, and then buying a wig, then buying a dress, then learning makeup. It's an actual art form, and it's a respected art form. So there's a lot
Mm.
to do in exploring these things, but it does get intense.
Yeah, I think that's actually critical what you said. Like it's a respected art form. Like it's, if you want to do it, you want to do it properly. Like
Exactly.
you want to give it its own due respect and not just make it like a thing that you just do. And so, how does it feel to play like a woman? Like, how do you research that? Do you speak to your friends? Or do you just express yourself in a more feminine kind of way?
No, so I access, one is definitely the feminine side of myself, and I actually create the character. So I write down the character background and what it's. So while people only see the video, there's actually a
Mm.
backstory that I'm creating, an inner world that I'm creating. So before I interviewed these actors, Rajkumar Rao and stuff, I actually wrote a script, and I wrote, like, created my own age in my head, where I come from. Like if this French girl, she comes from France, she doesn't understand. So there's this whole setting up the character in my own head before I sort of channel that personality. So there is effort that goes into creating that person, but it is a lot of just accessing sides of our own self without
Mm.
judgment, because we all are on a spectrum of so many things.
Yeah, no, I think that's keen. I think that goes to the whole gender roles thing that I think you spoke about one of your spoken word pieces about
Right.
men and women having, and I think in India, like it is quite a stark, like women do have their gender roles and men do have theirs. I think the rest of the world are kind of slowly adapting and changing. And I think women working has really helped change that. So why is that such an important issue for you? And what do you think about it? Tell me your perspective on it.
About gender roles,
Yes, in general, yeah.
so I don't fall into the stereotypical
Mm.
masculine mainstream persona. I've always been someone who has liked the arts, who likes poetry. I don't like sports at all. I mean, I enjoy working out and being fit and all of that, but not that, you know, mainstream jock at all. So I've faced bullying and ridicule for being different, for not conforming to those norms. And then that's when I started channelizing these feelings and this angst into my art. And that's why it's
Mm.
resonating with so many more people who are also experiencing this. But it's, yeah, so that's where it comes from.
No, I think that's a good point as well, because I think everybody to a certain extent has not fit in. You know, like even myself who likes
Yeah,
football, who
yeah,
likes cricket, I still like sports, but there's like
right.
I'm an artist as well, so in some forms I
Yeah,
didn't fit in with the norm in that sense as well. But
right.
but I think when I was younger, there wasn't this acceptance that you can be more feminine. And I think for myself as well, the way my mind works, because I'm artistic, I'm more detail orientated.
Right.
I like the
Yeah,
finer subtleties in life.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
very much like a feminine perspective, if you want to put it
Okay.
in inverted commas. If you say masculine is more structure,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
upland.
yeah.
So if you want to put it that way. So and I think everybody has this within us, and art gives us the ability to explore that in a very free
Absolutely.
in a very free way. And I see that with you.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
I see that with you. I see you really expressing yourself, and I'm sure like it must really connect to people in India as well who are in this younger generation. I think India is one of the most
It does.
youngest countries in the world when it comes to average age. And I think that the youth of India is something like, obviously I was there last year, and I see a lot of exuberance and a lot of individual thinking in like the which I didn't see in older generations. Would you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's changing like incredibly, and I'm so glad that it is.
Yeah, and why do you think that's the case? Do you think
I think
the internet?
it is definitely the internet, but more than anything, I think we're just experiencing a wave of collective empowerment, not just as a dichotomy of genders, but just as a species in general.
Mm,
The woke quotient is just increasing on a collective level. And I think that empowerment is really making people realize that we don't need to settle and suffer for accepting the norms that have been imposed upon us all this while, and it is okay to be ourselves. And what is also furthering that is, of course, access to the internet and so much pop culture where we see so much diversity. Like
mm,
Netflix has given us RuPaul's Drag Race. I actually did a drag class by RuPaul on the masterclass website, which is where
mm.
how I've been trying to stay productive this lockdown with masterclasses. But I think it's this access and exposure that's allowing people to realize, like, I'm not settling anymore for any
Mm.
form of suffering, and the time is up for stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's very pivotal for a country like India as well, which has had its kind of identity ripped out of its own country by like people coming in and
It's
invading.
always been a dichotomy. So I say in one
Yeah.
of my poems that why should he see a shrink if he likes the color pink? And why should
Mm,
she too if she likes the color blue?
mm,
And that is something that we really face. Like, why is it that people are so dichotomous and stubborn about how you have to be that there's literally you're not embracing anything about yourself
mm,
that is you. You're just conforming to something that isn't you. And no wonder you're going to have an identity crisis in a
mm.
scenario like that. And then when you go through that whole journey of I want to be myself, I want to do the things I like, I want to say the things I like, there is a lot of resistance. Like